Hi guys, Squirrel here. Welcome to another episode of TMCN. It's been a little bit of a while since the last one. TMCN is where you ask the questions and I ramble on with some answers. This may contain nuts. That's what TMCN stands for. So basically, if you're not familiar with TMCN, you guys submit your questions to a certain theme, and then I go through the questions and pick out my favorites and answer them. That's how it works. So in today's video, the theme is everyday life, and this theme was suggested by Kavorka Scania suggested everyday life. I need your questions for the next video. The theme for the next video was suggested by a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people. So I'm not going to name anybody because there's loads of you. But the theme for the next video is food. Yes, food. I shall leave that to you, what questions you want to ask me about food, but that's the way it is. So if you want to ask a question, maybe at the end of the video, go to the video description and you'll see details of how to send in your question on the subject of food, and you can also suggest another theme if you want to. Now, also, before we get going, there's a couple of things I want to mention. Firstly is the Yachts 5 t-shirts and hoodies are about to end. The Yachts 5 is the shirt that celebrates my 5th year of being full-time, hence the 5. They're only available for a couple more days, so if you want to pick one up, also in the video description you'll find a link to go to my store where you can buy those t-shirts, and then they're taken off market and you can't buy them again, and there'll be another one next year. There's one a year going back, well, 4 or 5 years now. Now, the mod we're going to use today is this one. It's an old Scania. It's a 112. It's a great little truck. This truck is in my spreadsheet if you want to take it, go over it yourself. It's a very interesting truck, both inside and out, as you'll see. It's got some fantastic accessories. It's not completely perfect. There are, a few little issues. One of them around the wheel rotation. It kind of turns way too much than it should do, but outside the wheel turns absolutely fine. So it's not perfect mod, but it's a very fun mod. I fitted it with a 333 horsepower engine, and today we are in Valencia in Spain. We are on the southeast coast of Spain. I'll just show you if I zoom out slightly. The very southernmost part of the Spanish Pro Mods map world, and we're going to be taking a journey today along the coastal road up here as best we can. We're going to be going to Perpignan, which is in France, Francais. And I've got a custom trailer, so we are hauling, let me see, it was a job, carrots, 15 tons of carrots. How exotic is that? Well, when you're a driver, you've got to do what you got to do. We've passed €1 billion as well, if you look at my money on the bottom left. Passed €1 billion, which is just insane. Of course, this is the profile that I've had since I started playing Euro Truck, hence why I've got a bizarre amount of money on it now. Let's get this thing reversed and then loaded up. It's quite early in the morning, it's 7:40 AM, but by the time the trailer's loaded, it's probably going to be like 9:30 or so, I guess. And we'll start cracking on with some of your questions. Let's get this thing turning in. It's a long nose, so, it's not got quite the turning circle of the cab over. And it keeps catching me out because it takes time to turn this thing. Hence why I keep undershooting and overshooting my reverses a little bit. But that looks like it's on profile. Come on. There we go. Right, park and brake, engine off, and we shall get this thing loaded. See how long it takes them to load. That's actually quite a quick turnaround, blimey. That was like 30 minutes or so, that's brilliant. Right, you can see the inside of the cab a bit better now. There's all kinds of options on this thing, but we've got a boombox down there. We've got some crazy coloured seats. Paulie did a custom skin. If you want this skin, it's on his workshop. He does my skin, so it's Paulie's Custom Skins on Steam Workshop, and you can find that skin for it. I think if I remember, you can change the colour, or is it? I think there's a fixed colours actually. But it looks pretty good. Looks like we've got a standard container. So we'll set out here and then we'll start asking the questions. Actually, I need some fuel. Let me quickly work out where there's a fuel station. All right, there's one en route, actually. That's cool. Actually, and it's not quite en route, is it? Look, it's actually off the road. Can we go that way? Oof. That's not fun. Toll booth. Blimey, there's not actually not many fuel stations en route. Look at this. Okay, there's one up here. How far is that? That's going to be knocking on for a couple of 100 Ks. Got, okay, I think we're going to be good. He says, hopingly. Sounds good though, doesn't it? Sounds really nice. Lovely sounding engine. Got a white indicator, we're on the dirt track. So you got your rev counter in the middle. Trying to keep it in the green zone. It has cruise controls. The odometer doesn't move like the actual mileage. If you look at it, just sat at 15409. That never changes, so I don't know if that's meant to or it's just bugged out. But there's quite a lot of accessory options on this truck. Like when you get on the outside of it, there's just so many configuration options. It's crazy. It takes ages to configure because there's so much that you can do, which is a good thing. Oh boy, this is a bit tight. Blimey. That's not gonna make it, I don't think. Boy, oh boy, that is tight. Wowzers. We only just made that. You'd be fine in a cab over. Quite a cool drop-off point at the farm, though, isn't it? I like that. Well, I don't think we're on the public road yet. We'll start the questions in a second. We just want to get on the main road first. Because there's a bit of concentrating to do here. I love the way we're going underneath the main highways and stuff. Put the big lights back on for a sec. Yeah, I do wonder if SCS are going to bother doing Spain and Portugal, or whether they're just going to leave it to the ProMods guys. And they're going to carry on going east, maybe. It would make sense if they coordinated a little bit like that. Having said that, Spain and Portugal need to be in the base game, don't they? Like they're very, very much part of Europe. Doesn't make sense not to put them in. We're going to have to watch out for this fuel, because I'm not convinced we're going to have enough to get to the fuel stop. Oh boy, that drops. This is a cool pickup point. Oh my god, that was so awesome. That is one of the best, one of the most fun pickup joints. Pickup joints, pickup points. Alright, I think we can start with the questions now. 30Ks around here for some stupid reason. Okay, first question. Bear in mind it's about everyday life. So, the first question comes in from Nicholas1602. Nicholas1602 says, how does a healthy everyday life change your personality / life? How does a healthy everyday life change your personality and life? That's a tricky one for me to answer, Nicholas, because I've got to admit, I really don't have that mastered at all. Like, I don't really have a particularly healthy life. I don't have a particularly unhealthy life, I just don't have a particularly healthy one. I know I've seen plenty of YouTube videos and stuff on the subject of... Are we going this way? We're not going that way, are we? Going that way. I've seen plenty of YouTube videos on the subjects of, like, the benefits of getting up early. Like, some of them say, you know, get up at 5 AM or even earlier. Particularly the military guys say this. Because you get more done. It's more productive if you get up early. I know this. I've heard about this. I know the studies are true. I know you can be more productive if you get up early. If I went down to the gym my local gym at 6 a.m. when it opens, there's a queue of people outside. Not even joking. So they're getting up at 5. They're getting down to the gym at 6. And then they're hitting up the gym, and then they go to work. So, you know, they've got it nailed right there. They've got that routine. I just can't seem to pull that one off. I think diet is another thing. Like getting up early, going to bed early, diet and exercise. These are all the things that studies have shown make your... they do change your personality and your lifestyle and make you healthier. But somehow, it seems not many people can pull it off. Only a small percentage of the population seems to be able to pull this one off. Everybody knows what they should be doing, but most people don't do it. Most people are, you know, gaming until 1 a.m. or going out drinking or smoking when they shouldn't be, or not getting enough rest or not getting enough exercise. Like, that's basically what most people's life is. It's the exact opposite of what studies show is what you should do. Should we get past this guy? Let's go for it. And I'm very much in the same boat, I guess. So yeah, I know what the benefits should be. If I go to the gym, I feel the benefits of it, and I think, wow, that's great, I should do that again. And then I don't turn up for like a week, so... It's not as easy as it sounds, is it? I really hope this is the right lane. I kind of feel like the sat-nav is being a bit ambiguous about where I should be. So yeah, to answer your question, Nicholas, I know what I should be doing, but like most people, I generally aren't really managing to pull it off. And I was speeding then, I just noticed. Next question that comes from Playdudes1. Says, if you could trade your everyday life for a different one, where would you live and what would you do? Blimey. Where would I live and what would I do? Crikey. That really is a tough one. There are many places in the world I think I'd like to live. But they don't always tick, like, there's no one place that ticks all the boxes. For example, for me, because I only speak English, a big thing would be to live in a place where they speak English. Well, that eliminates a lot of countries. Not all of them, but eliminates a lot of countries. I think we're going this way. Or we're going that way. Oh boy. Why do I feel like we're going round in circles here? This is not strictly legal. Are those green things, are they collapsible or are they rock hard? I wonder. Okay, I think we're going the right way. I feel like we've driven all around Valencia right now. So yeah, there's lots of places I'd love to live, you know, it's got a nice climate. I mean, the Canary Islands has got a lovely climate. It really has. A lovely, lovely climate. Could I live there? Is the internet fast enough? Not really. Are there enough opportunities for my family? Possibly not. So there's no perfect place, like, I don't think. But there's lots of places I'd like to live, like, I don't know, maybe the west coast of the US, maybe somewhere in the south of France, like Maldives. I mean, you could name lots of wonderful places, but, you know, visiting them on a holiday and living there are very much, you know, two different things. So I really don't know. And as for what would I do, crikey, I honestly don't know. I mean, if I had a complete choice over what I did, it'd be kind of cool to do something like what Elon Musk is doing, like just changing the world, wouldn't it? Just build rockets to Mars and make electric cars and just do stuff that nobody else has done. I mean, that's pretty crazy, but I tell you what though, I wouldn't want his diary, like Elon Musk's diary. They book him in 5-minute units and he does 18-hour days. Just nope. That guy, I don't know. I don't think he's got a healthy lifestyle, let's put it that way. Anyway, thanks for your question, Playdudes1. Next one comes from Odin Stensland, I think it is. When you usually wake up, when do you usually wake up and go to bed? Oof. Well, bear in mind what I just said to you about my lifestyle. When do I usually wake up and go to bed? Do I need to be in that lane? I think I do. Yeah, there we go. You know, I'm trying to get up at the same time every day. I think you should either try and go to bed at the same time or try and get up at the same time. And that way you kind of give your body an idea about what to expect every day so that it can kind of work around it. I think the problems happen is when you keep varying your bedtime, you keep varying when you get up, and you end up all over the place. Personally, I'm trying to get up at 7:30 every day, but I'll be honest with you, sometimes I just reach over, hit the alarm, and I don't wake up till like 2 hours later. That just happens sometimes. So I'm not great at it, but I'm trying to get up at 7:30 every day. Going to bed, though, that's a bit more random for me. That depends on a lot of things. You know, am I working? Am I spending time with the family? Watching TV? Or, you know, it just depends on what I'm doing. Playing a game, maybe. So I could be reading something, could get lost on the internet, just watching stuff, you know. It really does vary, but I generally go to bed when I'm pretty much out of energy, which is not the best way to go to bed, really. Like, when you're on the point of collapse, that's not the way you should do it. I know I should to go to bed earlier, but sometimes I just push things too much. That's just the way I am, personally. And then I have a really nasty habit of just starting to watch a film, you know, at 11 o'clock at night, which is just a dumb idea. So I do things which I shouldn't do. And I know I shouldn't do them, but I do them anyway. I can't explain it. So, yeah, I tend to go to bed at random times. I try and get up at 7:30, but it doesn't always work out. Hope that answers your question. On to the next one from Giddy Raccoon. Will you ever do a day in the life of Squirrel video? Blimey. A day in the life of Squirrel. You know what, Giddy? If I ever get to the point where I think my life is interesting enough, I will. Like, you see a lot of these people on YouTube and TV, you know, like the Kardashians or whatever, and they're kind of blogging their life, and they just kind of bounce from one amazing place to another. Literally, my life is not like that. I don't know if I could do a day in the life of yet, because I just don't think it's interesting enough to be watchable. But if I ever do, then I will, Giddy. I'm trying to work out how far the fuel station is, you know. Should be coming up fairly soon. I'll probably drive right past it, you watch. Next question is from GTA Fan. If you have no plans for the day, what does your day consist of? I think if I have no plans for the day, and bearing in mind I've always got a bit of a list of things to do, but if I have no particular plan, I'll probably end up doing stuff around the house, or stuff that the wife wants me to do. Maybe she needs some things sorting out, whatever it is. Maybe I need to go through some emails, the ever-growing inbox of emails. Maybe I'll watch some TV. Maybe I go out for lunch with the wife, or recently, you know, we've been having the bathroom done, so quite often we'll have to go out and spend like an entire day just looking at, you know, bathroom units and tiles, just really, really depressing stuff. Or maybe I'll play some games. It really does vary, like, what I would do. I guess when I get free time, I'm driven by my mood. I'm driven by what I feel like doing. What am I in the mood for today? And it's like that with games sometimes. Sometimes I'll have a hankering to go driving. Other times I'll want to play Rocket League. Sometimes I want to shoot something in the face, so I'll fire up the Rainbow Six. It really does vary as to what I end up doing, based on what kind of mood I'm in. It's the same with going out. I'll just suddenly say to the wife, fancy going out for lunch? Or, you know, shall we go wherever? Shall we go for a Costa? I'm a bit dynamic like that. I don't kind of, I don't prescribe what I do with my day, as it were. You're running out of fuel. Yes, I know. Let's try and go up a gear. Right, let's quickly look at where we are, because I am genuinely getting concerned. Come on, map. There. Right, so we're here. Right, okay, we should be good. We should make it. So according to the fuel tank, we've got like a quarter left, but if I look at the thing at the bottom, it looks like less than a quarter. Let's try and stay in a high gear and cruise our way to victory. Next question is from Robin AKS. He says, do you usually have a structured day? Do you usually have a structured day, or does your schedule for the day frequently change? I have a list of things that I need to do. And I do more, like, YouTube is one of the things I do. Twitch is another thing that I do. Obviously, I've got my family life, and then I have other kind of personal interests, like maybe my flying, or some other stuff I'm involved in, like some charity work I do. There's lots of, there's various sides to me, let's put it that way. But I always have a list of stuff that I need to get on with, and it's a big list. And then my wife will add stuff on top of that big list. So it never ends, like I never manage to complete my list. What I will do though is I pick out some of the more important things that I need to do, some of the more time critical ones. Like if there's something that I need doing for tomorrow or today, I'll basically bump that to the top of the list. For example, it's my daughter's birthday next week. I need to buy stuff. Like I need to do it now because otherwise it won't get here on time. So now I have to sit on Amazon for the next 2 hours figuring out what to get her. Some people plan their day at the end of the day, so they plan their next day at the end of the current one, and that works for them. Me, what I do is I tend to get up and then look at my list and then adjust my list so that I do stuff that I think needs to be done today. So I kind of do it just a little bit differently, but it's the same principle. But my day is never really structured. It's just, again, coming back to what I feel like doing, like the stuff that I have to do, and then there's stuff that I decide to do based on a mood that I'm in. For example, TMCN, like I don't always feel like recording it. Like, you know, some days I think, well, I should record some Eurotruck, but I just don't feel like it. I kind of not feeling in a trucking mindset, or I'm not feeling like my brain's not sharp enough to sit and think about answers to questions and stuff, so I don't do it. I try to do things on the days when I feel like doing those things, if that makes sense. Is this the fuel station here? I think it is. Yes, it's fuel stop. Okay, there's the rest point, but I'm not seeing a fuel station yet. Did I completely mess up? Nope, there's the fuel station. Right, it's finally shown on the sat-nav. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Robin. Thank you for that one. Let's grab some fuel from the Total Garage. Lovely sounding engine though, real classic diesel sound. You know what? I know the world's gonna. The world is already scorning diesel, and we're gonna inevitably end up with electric. But I think people will look back on this era. They'll look back at the sound of these things, the sound of the diesel trucks and the Formula One cars and all the rest. They'll just look back at it and be like, "Man, that was such a good time," you know. Some of the stuff they used to do. Was they'll be zipping around in the super efficient, super quiet electric vehicles, and it just won't feel the same, will it? Next question then, from Mr. Donny. Mr. Donny, what's the perfect weekend after a week of hard work? Perfect weekend after a week of hard work. That's an interesting question, Mr. Donny, because I work weekends. That's my day comes off at the start of the week. So here's the thing, because I stream when people are not at work, because my job is like in the entertainment industry now, I guess. So I kind of work when other people are off work. So I stream Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So generally my weekend, in quotes, will be sort of Monday, Tuesday. Although generally speaking, I'll probably get one day off. I think generally speaking, I take on too much, and then I suffer when everything collides and I have to do it all at once. Like, I don't like having nothing to do. I really don't like it. I'd rather have too much stuff to do than not enough stuff to do. I guess that makes me a workaholic in a sense. And it has caused me issues in the past, particularly with my health. Like in the run up to going full time, I got to this point where I was doing 2 full-time jobs. I was doing my normal job, which was taking over 40 hours a week, 45 hours a week. So like that was about 7 till 5 p.m. or something. And then I'd come home, and then I'd be recording videos or doing live streams, and I wasn't getting any time off. It was literally a 7-day-a-week job. And it was at that point that I sort of, you know, I started to get high blood pressure issues, and my fatigue was just kicking in, something chronic. Eyesight was starting to go blurry, like getting massive headaches, just not in a good position. Stress levels through the roof, neck tension through the roof. And I went and saw the doctor, and they said, like, you know, your blood pressure is up, we need to get it under control, like all these problems. And at that point I realised I was doing too much. Like, I had to make a decision. I had to choose between, do I carry on doing my full-time IT job, or do I stop, quit, and do this YouTube streaming thing, which had got to the point where I could sort of live off it, if you like. But I can't do both. And then that's when I decided to do one. But that's where I got myself into a really bad position by working too much. I think, in terms of going back to your question, Mr. Donny, the perfect weekend, what you mean is, like, after a hard week, what do you like to do? What to sort of wind down, I guess, is your question. Pretty much for me, the idea of just having nothing on my list that I need to do. Like, if I arrive at a day where I can say, I've done loads of work, there's nothing on my list that critically has to be done today, I can have the day off, I can do what I want, I can then relax. And it doesn't really matter what I end up doing. It doesn't matter if I go somewhere, it doesn't matter if, you know, we might go to the cinema with the wife, as I did the other day, Monday night, we were watching a movie. I had a Nando's and a meal. I had a Nando's in the cinema, and that was great. It was just great. It was like a nice evening with my wife, and that's what I do to just unwind. I don't seek interesting things to do. I just like having time off at that point. So I don't think I really have a perfect weekend. In an ideal world, I suppose I would go to some, you know, wood cabin, you know, like My Summer Car style, just go to a log cabin in the middle of a lake and just have a barbecue and cook fish. Like, that sounds great to me, but that's not easily doable from where I live in Essex. There's nothing that you can really do like that. So that's not really an option. So yeah, I just do what I can. I just relax, and I don't hit the road and try and go somewhere because I might get stuck in traffic, and I can't stand getting stuck in traffic. So, but my day off is like a Monday or a Tuesday, so it's generally not a big deal. Anyway, hope that answers that one. Next one is from Connor Silito, I think it is. Connor Silito. He says, whoa, slow down. He says, how many cups of Yorkshire tea and Toblerones do you eat per day? Well, I don't eat Yorkshire tea. Lol. I don't really eat Toblerone, to be honest with you. I've lost my sweet tooth, as it were, over the years. Okay, why can we not do that? Is that not triggered? There we go. I don't tend to eat much sweet stuff. I have a savoury palate now, so I'd rather have a packet of crisps than a chocolate bar. Let's put it that way. Tea, however, Yorkshire tea, I guess. I mean, what I do with Yorkshire tea is I buy those big, like 1 kilogram bags from Amazon, like the big bags, like I think like £20 or something, and that'll last me, I don't know, a couple of months. I think they have like, are they 2 kilograms? They're like 1,000 bags or something daft. I can't remember now. I'm trying to work out which lane I need to be in. I think it's that one, but it's really not very clear. Hang on, let's see where we're going. The sat-nav is just not clear. Okay, looks like we need to keep right. So yeah, I probably drink about, I don't know, say 8 cups a day. Probably more, to be honest. I don't really count it. So, but I'll drink at least 8. Maybe I'll have a coffee in there somewhere along the line, but not usually. But Mrs. Squirrel drinks more or less. Probably not quite as much as I drink, but not that far off. Actually, I think it probably is more than 8 a day, thinking about it. I'll probably have a cup like every 90 minutes. It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. But yeah, I just drink a lot of Yorkshire tea. I think it wants us to move over. There we go. Next question is from Olgits Rule 1 ONPS4. I think that's the name. How many hours of gaming do you do per day? Let's get the right gear. How many hours of gaming do you do per day? Not as much as I used to, I would suggest. I think when I started doing YouTube and Twitch, I was probably gaming more then than I am now, because back then that's all I had to do. And a lot of my time was not being taken up doing all the other stuff around it. Around kind of doing YouTube and Twitch as a business. Back then it was just a bit of a hobby, really. Whereas now, of course, it pays the mortgage, so you've got to be a bit more thoughtful about what you do. But certainly I don't play as much as I used to. Some days I won't play any. Like, there are days when I don't even go on the computer. I take that much of a break sometimes because I need to. And then there's other days when I'll play on it for like 12 hours. Average, I have no clue. I have absolutely no clue how much it averages, but it's definitely, hang on, I get too quick there. It's definitely still a significant part of what I do, is gaming, because if I'm not recording and I'm not streaming, maybe I'm playing just for fun, or maybe I'm kind of trying something out, seeing what a game's like, seeing what a mod's like, seeing what a map's like, figuring out what I can do in another video. But spending time playing games when you're not making content is something you have to keep an eye out on, because I'm always thinking, should I be recording this? That's what I've always got to think. Well, thank you for the question. Let's move over. Next one is from Dragex. Do you have some kind of get-up routine, or do you just get up and start your day? What's my routine? My routine is generally something like this. I wake up, turn my alarm off, go back to sleep. My second alarm will go off. I'll then wake up. I'll stagger into the bathroom. Then I'll go downstairs and I'll make breakfast and a cup of tea. I'll come back to my room, where I'll then proceed to watch some YouTube or some Twitch whilst having my breakfast. Then I'll get up. Then I'll have a shower and a shave, and then I'll go down to my office and make a start on things. Although sometimes I'll grab my laptop while I'm in bed and just figure out some emails before I do the rest of that. So that's roughly speaking what I end up doing on a daily basis. If I'm going to the gym, I'll generally speaking... Flipping out, what's going on here? If I'm going to the gym, I'll generally speaking do that later in the day. Maybe at lunchtime or late morning, that kind of thing. Let's get moved over here. So that's my routine, Dragex. Next question is from Sol. What is the most important factor in your everyday life that you couldn't do without? Breathing. I definitely couldn't do without breathing. But to answer your question, my phone, I think. It's basically my PA, so I can't really do without it anymore. It's got all of my authenticators on it, it's got my email on it, it's got Twitter on it. Like, it's literally the centerpiece of what I do now, and I carry it around everywhere I go. Apart from in the shower. Next question from Oliver Gazetta. Says, do you think voice-activated things, example phones, TVs, will be more popular in everyday life in the years to come? I I would say so, yes. But equally, like, I'm pretty wary of them. I don't have an Amazon Echo. I won't let anybody in the house have an Amazon Echo. I make sure all the Siri is disabled. I don't trust the big companies not to abuse their ability to listen in on conversations and use that information. Like, I'm not saying they're spying on us and listening to conversation about, you know, your daughter's boyfriend or whatever. Like, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is I don't trust them not to, you know, listen to conversations and use the data. Like, I've heard stories of people talking about, I don't know, Ferrero Rocher, and then next thing they go on Amazon, they're starting to see, you know, chocolate bars and that kind of daft stuff I'm talking about, I'm convinced that they will, Amazon and people like that will absolutely use that information. I'm convinced they will. And then, of course, you've got law enforcement, which could, in theory, use it, although they probably don't, unless they have to, in which case you've probably got bigger problems anyway if you're on the watch list. But, you know, you've got hackers. Like, there's all kinds of reasons for me just not... And you could say it's paranoia, but that's... I value my privacy, and having an open microphone on a wireless network is, to me, just asking for trouble, so I don't want it. I don't want that. But in terms of will they become more popular, to answer your question, probably. Certainly they're very prevalent in cars now, aren't they? You know, voice-activated sat-nav and, you know, call a number, that kind of thing. It's very common. It's convenient, you know, you don't have to type it in. You can just use your voice, which is more natural. But yeah. Next question from Lindo. Lindo says, what happens in your everyday life, as in the change and now and 10 years ago? Right, okay. I think what you're saying is, how has your life changed between now and 10 years ago? 10 years ago, I was basically building an important IT system for a large company, and I was also doing my own stuff in a company, trying to get my stuff off the ground, which ultimately didn't work out. I've never been the kind of person that was just happy to do 9 to 5, as in do your job, come home, and then, you know, watch sports and go to the pub or whatever it is. That's never been me. I'm always looking to do more with my life. And, you know, 10 years ago, that was what, 2009? So 2 years after that, I started my YouTube channel, and then I went from there. So it just goes to show you, like, what, you know, if you'd have asked me 10 years ago, do you think, can you believe that this is what you'll be doing in 10 years' time? I'd have just thought you were mad, like utterly mad. Because 10 years ago, I'd never recorded a game in my life. I'd never, you know, done commentary on anything in my life. I had never done any of that. So it would just seem bizarre to me that I would be doing it for a living. So your life can change so much in 10 years. It's crazy. But I think that's what you've got to do. You've got to keep kind of pushing and reinventing yourself and doing whatever you feel makes you happy at the end of the day. Like, don't just sit in that rut. I've never liked just sitting in that 9 to 5 rut. Just, if you don't like your life, if you don't like your job, change it. There's nothing stopping you. Just change it. That's the view I have anyway. Next question is from a normal Tro-Stroke Ibis. I can't quite work out that name, but how did YouTube change your everyday life? And how would you imagine yourself without making YouTube videos? Blimey. If I wasn't making YouTube videos, I'd be very happy to sit on a beach just doing absolutely nothing, but as I've said before, I would get bored doing that. So YouTube and Twitch is a job at the end of the day. Producing content is more tiring and time consuming than most people think. Like, the phrase, oh, you play games for a living, like, is so far from the truth. You just wouldn't believe how far from the truth. And until you do it, you don't understand, like, how much goes into it. But what I like about my job is the fact that I can make people happy, the fact that I can make content for people to enjoy, and it's something they choose to do in their leisure time. Now, everybody has to do things. You all have to go to work, you know, there's things that we're paid to do that we don't want to do. But in somebody's leisure time, if they choose to watch your content, that says an awful lot, doesn't it? Nobody's made them do it. They chose to do it. And out of all the other stuff they could watch, they chose to watch your stuff. And that's what I love about my job, the fact that I can actually make content that people choose to watch in their leisure time when they could watch anything else. Thank you for the question. Next one is from Gunnar Langland. How do you keep your business, as in YouTube channel, separate from your private family life, both with time, effort, and money? Do you have office hours? The short answer to that is it's not possible. It's just simply not possible. Like, I do my job at home, and my wife is involved in what I do. Like, she basically does a lot of the admin stuff for me. So, you know, given that we live in the same house, and yeah, my office is in the garden, but it's just not possible to separate my YouTube life, my work life, from my home life. And I think that's true of pretty much any small business, any startup, self-employed small business. It's more or less a team effort at that point. And maybe some people run office hours, but I literally can't do that. That would never work for me. If I was a self-employed plumber working at home, then maybe I could get away with, you know, 8 till 6 or something daft like that, and then just down tools. But even then, even if you're like a self-employed plumber, there's always finance and paperwork and, you know, tax and all the rest of it that has to be done. You can't just walk away from it when you're self-employed. That's the advantage you have as an employee. You walk out the door and you leave work behind. As a self-employed person, that just doesn't happen. Wow, another toll booth. We must be in France. Can we go on that one? Yes, we can. Right, have we got another question that we can quickly get in? We've got 40k's left. Let's just get around this roundabout. Let's see. Speedster 202. Speedster 202 says, what is the process you use for making videos in your day-to-day life? I think that depends on the game, really, Speedster. You know, at one end of the spectrum, you've got something like Satisfactory, where I can roughly just work out what I want to do, like what I want to build in that episode, and with a mouse and keyboard, boom, start recording, and we can quickly start making a video. At the other end of the scale, you've got something like TMCN or Flight Sim, where you've got to do a lot of prep work beforehand. Like with TMCN, I've got to go through loads of questions. With Flight Sim, I've got to go through flight planning, like where do I want to go, look at the airport diagrams, figure out what we're going to do. There's a lot of planning. Then I've got to get all the equipment out, be it a wheel or a joystick or, you know, pedals, whatever it is. And then, you know, we start recording, and if anything does go wrong during the episode, we've got to start again. So it can take a lot of time to make those videos compared to something like a Satisfactory video. And then you've got stuff in between, which is, you know, generally like most stuff. Like, say, My Summer Car, you get your equipment out, figure out roughly what you're going to do, and then the game will just decide what it wants you to do. So, you know, and stuff in My Summer Car can and does go very, very wrong, but that's part of the fun. Yeah, like Trucking Diaries maybe, like, requires a bit of planning, and then get the equipment out and go for it. I think the hardest part, though, is always having an idea what you're going to talk about. You can't just drive and say nothing, so you've always got to figure out what you're going to say. One gear hype. There we go, that's the gear we wanted. I've got time for another one. 32k's left, probably. Let's see. That anonymous Brit says, how do you think you affect everyday life of your viewers through them watching your content over YouTube videos and over your Twitch live streams? That's a very interesting question. You see, when I started doing this, and I went on for a few years like this, I lived in a bubble. I thought I made videos and then some people on the internet watched them. You know, you just look at view counts and go, ooh, like, you know, 3,000 people watched that. Cool. What you don't realise is that's 3,000 actual people. That's 3,000 actual human beings have watched your stuff. And each of them has their own kind of story, reason to watch, something they're getting out of it. Never really appreciated that until it was completely pointed out to me when people sent in emails, or I met them at events, and they kind of come up to you and say, you know, I just want to say a massive thank you. Like, you got me through some really dark stuff in my life a year ago when I was depressed. I was in college and my life has fallen apart, or my wife left me, or I was diagnosed with this. And, you know, I watched your videos through the night when I was in hospital. I literally had, you know, young people say this to me, how they got some illness and they spent 8 weeks in hospital and they just watched a ton of my content to get them through the day, just to get them through it all. And at that point, it just punches you in the stomach. Like, what you're actually doing here is changing people's lives. And it's not something that I ever appreciated until it was pointed out to me by people whose lives have been changed. You've also got people who say, well, you know, I started watching your stuff and then, you know, your truck videos, and I went on and I'm now a truck driver and I'm loving what I do. I quit my job and now I drive trucks for a living. I absolutely love it. You know, thank you so much for pointing me in that direction. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But if there's one thing that I do love about this job, it's the fact that I guess I'm making a difference. That makes sense. Like, what I'm doing actually makes a difference to people's lives, hopefully for the better. As I said earlier, they watch because they're in the leisure time, so they're not watching because they have to, because they want to. And, you know, I try to put out the best content I can. I try to keep it family friendly and all the rest of it, because I just feel that that's what people want. That's what's needed. That's what I stand for. That's makes me feel comfortable and happy as a dad. That's what I'd be happy for them to watch on YouTube, because there's a lot of stuff on YouTube that isn't like that. It really isn't like that. It's just horrible. It's just there's stuff on there that's a bad influence, full of swearing, people trying to money grab. Like, it's just crazy what goes on, and I try to not be that. So yeah, I think Anonymous Brit, it has become apparent over the years how important it is what I do to some people. So but that just gives me a lot of kind of job satisfaction, I guess. It's great. Anyway, we're here, aren't we? Look at this. Crikey. That was a long old journey. Seemed to go fairly quickly. Oh, that is a horrible parking spot. Oh my god, look at that. That is nasty for a truck this long. Oh boy. Okay, we're not done yet. Listen, thank you for your questions, guys. Thank you so much. Remember, the next theme is going to be food, and I need questions for the next episode. So when we're done here, be sure to go to the video description. And remember, the Yachts 5 t-shirts ends in a few days. So there's that. And also, don't forget to submit your questions to TMCN on the subject of food, so that I've got some cool stuff to answer in the next episode. Okay, I think that's probably a better line if we go from there, isn't it? We try and aim for the centre point of the drop point and then start a late turn. Just get it moving like that. Kick it over. Like a glove. There we go. Nice. Right, let's stop the engine. Parking brake, engine, press enter, and hopefully we'll get paid. 250 litres, 21 grand, 800 XP, and a little bit more of level 103 is done. Nice. Like I say, the link in the video description to submit a question, the Yachts 5 t-shirt, and the mod spreadsheet. It's all the information's in the description. It's amazing how much people don't look at a video description. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Thank you so much for all those TMCN questions. I thought that was quite a nice episode. I enjoyed that one. Please give me a thumbs up if you did, and, you know, share it with your friends. Share it with people you know. Tell them about the channel. You know, if you think they will enjoy what I do, please do share. Until the next one, guys, take care. Happy trucking.